Hey everyone, imagine that this cinema is showing its own horror story, and if it's your turn, the ending won't be a happy one. Today, we're going to watch the first part of Nightmare Cinema. So grab your popcorn, and let's dive into the story. This young woman is named Samantha. While walking through the city, she passes by an old cinema that's premiering a horror movie with her name on it, which seems very suspicious. As soon as she looks at the ticket booth, a ticket is printed for her. Even though she knows it could be dangerous, her curiosity gets the best of her, and she decides to go in. She sits in a marked seat as the movie begins. She sees herself running through the forest, covered in blood, but she slips on a body lying on the ground. That could have been her end, as a masked man is right behind her, holding a pickaxe. But just in time, she hides and meets up with her boyfriend, Jason. Now, the two of them need to run to the nearest town to ask for help. On the road, a police car appears, but the problem is that the officer is Mike, who used to be bullied by both of them back in school. He doesn't believe their story and orders them to get in the back seat, intending to take them to the police station. Just as he was about to leave, the mysterious man appears. Mike, startled, fires several warning shots, and the man falls to the ground. Mike approaches to check the body, but gets scared and, out of stupidity, manages to shoot himself. Both of them are now desperate in the car. Jason breaks the window to grab the keys and escape, but the hooded man gets up, and once again, they have to run. They manage to reach a cabin in the middle of the forest, and Brian opens the door, asking why they're so desperate. The two explain that there's a masked man who's been killing all their friends and is on his way. When he looks to the side, the masked man throws a sledgehammer at him, and they lock the door. Jason wants to resolve this quickly, so he grabs a shotgun from the wall and prepares to open the door. But when he does, the masked man stabs Brian and uses him as a shield until all the ammunition runs out. Now, he has to fight hand-to-hand, while Samantha just lies on the floor, screaming desperately. And folks, this is one of the biggest mistakes in movies because if they had worked together, the story would have ended much sooner. But let's continue. Samantha finds a trapdoor in the house and goes down to hide, but there are several dead bodies there. Meanwhile, Jason is getting beaten up upstairs. He tries to grab some knives to protect himself, but the masked man starts stabbing him into the wall and sets him on fire. It's at this moment that Samantha gets angry and appears with an axe, ready to fight for survival. She knocks the masked man down, and he reveals himself to be Fred, her nerdy friend. He says he did all of this for their own good, and then begins to reminisce about what happened that weekend. His parents had let him use the lake house, and he thought he'd finally have a chance with her. But then, she starts making out with Jason in front of him, and that's the downside of the friend zone. Everyone is enjoying themselves when a meteorite crashes in the forest, and they all go out to see it. Fred knew it could be dangerous, but Jason, being curious, touches it. Then, several mutant spiders come out and start crawling into everyone's bodies. Fred is the only one who manages to run and puts on that suit and mask so the spiders don't enter his body. Since then, he's been hunting down all the infected to save the world. Samantha starts remembering everything, and her skull splits in two as a spider crawls into her brain. Fred finishes the job. When it's time to leave, he thinks everything is over, but hundreds of spiders start appearing, so the night will be long. It ends with him returning to the city, but something's wrong because there's something under his face. If you've made it this far, leave a like and get ready because the next story is just as bizarre as this one. So, let's continue. A couple is walking through the city and starts kissing in front of a cinema, and by chance, it's the same cinema as before. David wants to take Vanessa inside so they can have some fun in a quieter place, and they begin kissing when a movie starts, and she's playing the lead role. Vanessa is looking at herself in the mirror, and there's a large scar on her face that everyone always stares at. She goes back to the table to meet her boyfriend, David, and they're both very happy. He says his mother would like to meet her, and that way, they could make their relationship official. The problem is, Vanessa isn't feeling very well because her appearance doesn't fit the standard, and he comes from a wealthy and well-known family. But David says it doesn't matter what she looks like because he loves her for who she is. He adds that, if she wants, she could get a little plastic surgery to fix the scar on her face, and it would be at the best clinic in town, the same one where his mother had hers done. That would be their anniversary gift. Vanessa arrives at the clinic, and it's a very beautiful place. Clearly, she couldn't afford those surgeries. The doctor examines her face and says it would be very easy to fix, and she wouldn't even remember that she ever had those scars on her face. He adds that since her boyfriend is paying, she could also make some other adjustments to harmonize her face, and even lift her breasts a little. Even though she doesn't know what the result will be, she decides to accept. He says they'll schedule the procedure for the following week and do all the exams right there, because this is a special service for a special client in a special condition. The big day of the surgery arrives, and she counts to 10 for the anesthetic to take effect. She begins dreaming about her wedding, but has a nightmare of the doctors looking at her in a sadistic way. She only wakes up the next day, and David is in the room with her to show her that everything is okay. He advises her not to try speaking because she has stitches on her face. David says he will always be by her side and that she's very beautiful. As soon as she falls asleep, he takes several pictures as if there's something wrong with her face and takes them to the doctor. Vanessa wakes up and realizes something has happened. The doctor then enters and says everything is going very well, and she just needs to recover. Soon she'll be able to have a normal life. He explains that David asked for some extra alterations, which will be done in the coming days. That's when she starts to realize that something is wrong. Vanessa wakes up in the middle of the night and tries to make a call, but the line is dead. She calls the nurse, but she says there's nothing she can do until the morning. In desperation, Vanessa removes the 4 from her arm and starts walking through the clinic, which looks terrifying at night. She takes advantage of the fact that the receptionist left the desk to use the computer and notices that her report is strange, with David's signature authorizing all the changes. The nurse comes back, and Vanessa has to hide. She ends up in a room with a woman asking for help, her face horribly deformed with no eyes. When she tries to leave, the nurse comes at her, and the two start fighting. But Vanessa, fueled by rage, manages to grab the nurse's access card and enters the elevator. The problem is, as soon as she reaches the lower floor, the doctor appears, and she's caught and taken to an emergency surgery. When she wakes up, David is in the room and says not to worry, everything went well, and his mother came to meet her. When he leaves, she takes the chance to check what happened, and her face is deformed, plus they've added a third breast to her. When his mother appears, we see she's also bizarre, and now Vanessa is a perfect fit for the family. The movie ends, and she runs to talk to the manager, but there's only one person there, who's projecting the movie. He says he projects movies in exchange for a life, and that's the magic of his cinema. The movie ends with her screaming desperately. And folks, imagine accidentally walking into that cinema. The end is not going to be happy. So leave a like and subscribe if you liked the review, because here we only have questionable qualities. Stay tuned because part 2 will be out soon. Now, I'm outta here. Thanks, everyone, and bye.